Welcome back to the News from the Real World podcast. We're your hosts this week, Quinn and
Eleanor.
Excellent. And we're starting it off this segment 2, with a student pick, Ladder Safety, now a smartphone app. This is from theatersafetyblog.blogspot.com. And basically this company, NIOSH, has come up with this app for any smartphone that can detect if your ladder, an extension ladder, is at its proper angles to avoid slippage or accidents. And the proper angle is apparently 75.5 degrees, which I did not know. And so basically you pull out your phone and take a picture of your ladder, and it detects its angle and then tells you if it's safe or not. Personally, I cannot picture any of my tech comrades whipping this out during a tech call.
Yeah, I mean, the comment, I can't possibly comment because I wouldn't be using it, but a lot of the comments people were saying, oh, yeah, that could be good, or no, that's not good. So.
Yeah, no, a lot of people seem to take great offense towards this app.
Didn't think it would be a controversial topic.
No,
but table
I totally see it.
Yeah,
and my bros in TD are not going to be pulling this out. My lighting designer friend, Schmedeke, you're not going to pull this app out. I just know it.
I think there's just a general resistance to app culture in general. There's just too many apps for too many specific things. People don't need it.
Cool. It just wouldn't look cool. Come on.
Well, besides that it wouldn't maybe look cool, is it necessary? If it's going to really help you and make things safer, then good.
I think they'll just look at it as a nuisance that will slow them down.
But
I know how to use an extension ladder.
Are you just bringing that really male opinion of I don't need the map, I know where I'm going?
Maybe.
And then actually just
you're on to me,
the
Eleanor.
GPS is really helpful and everyone benefits.
Yeah, the GPS is pretty good. But Dan Mealy on the bro side writes, "Oh, the idiocy of man." Anyway, this app seems to be a good idea in theory. How practical it will actually be on a job site is another question entirely. Well, there you have it. The people have spoken. The bros have spoken, Eleanor.
No go for the ladder app.
No ladder app. That brings us to stagehands.
Sticking with the technical theme.
Yeah, this is a student pick as well, and it's why should stagehands at Carnegie Hall make $400,000? This is from Forbes.com, Susan Adams writing, and basically, Carnegie Hall has gone through contract renewal, and of course all these figures get disclosed, and Local 1, the stagehands union, is quite powerful and have negotiated some pretty hefty contracts for their very specialized workers over the years. And with the figures released, you have some head stage hands are actually making in the $400,000 range. It's caught some negative publicity because some people are saying, particularly the Wall Street Journal, that bastion of all things right and financial, has really taken some pot shots at the proletariat with making $400,000 as a stagehand. Yeah, basically saying that the Local 1 has been collective bargaining the life out of New York's performing arts.
Interesting, very interesting. The unions are obviously powerful, but some of the comments were pointing to the fact that you don't punish them for being good at negotiating a contract. Contract is a negotiation. It's two people come to an agreement. It's not like they've held them hostage. Carnegie Hall's agreed to this.
Totally, and they're a very financially healthy institution, and if they can afford to pay their workers who've been there for the guys who are making this range, and there's a few women as well, have been there for quite some time. It's kind of a club that's tough to get into,
Yeah.
and once you're in, you do pretty well.
Well, the article was also saying that the terms like stagehand and electrician and carpenter in theatre can often be really misleading to like a layperson from outside theatre because they're not your everyday domestic
And there's
labourer. Like
and
they're
it's
very, very, very specialised.
and it's all geared towards the arts.
Yeah.
You know, which
Yeah.
is in itself very specialized.
Yeah.
I don't get why people are begrudging the stagehands their hefty contracts.
I think if you want to complain about anyone's salaries, maybe it's the like CEOs of, stockbroking firms where,
I thought that was a cool thing, that there was more kind of parity among the executive side and the worker side of Carnegie Hall, which seems right.
I mean, it's interesting because it raises the question of like how much should somebody be paid and what is the criteria for determining that? Because
Completely.
a lot of people think, oh, well, if you're really contributing to the economy and providing jobs for a lot of other people, then that's why you deserve to be paid a lot. But is it? Is that the measuring stick?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Well, Ben Vigman writes, "It's a tough argument with more gray than black or white. I hope both sides will eventually come to an agreeable compromise." The article goes on to make a point that Carnegie Hall, while being a non-profit, it's supported almost exclusively from private donors and sponsorship. So, if they're a healthy institution doing well, I don't see why you should begrudge their stagehands.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Moving on. Minneapolis controversy.
More controversy. This is just the controversial segment. We've got the letters and yeah. Okay, so this article is called Let's Talk About, brackets, insert controversy here, close brackets. And it's an editor pick, comes to us from the MinnesotaPlaylist.com by Derek Miller. Now, the article is sort of detailing a few controversial plays and performances that have been going on in Minnesota. And talking about how, theatre sometimes, his argument is that theatre, when it tries to incite controversy, is maybe not so good at that. And he points to the examples of plays like Clybourne Park and Good People, which have been like on Broadway and in regional theatre lately, that are deliberately kind of meant to be controversial. And
yet don't catch any flack,
And
whereas that old
like
chestnut,
Miss
Inherit the
Saigon,
Wind,
Inheriting Nothing in Minnesota have caught a lot of flack recently.
Yeah, apparently this production of Inherit the Wind was being produced a school that had some religious ties, and the school strictly treats the Book of Genesis as fact, and they pressured the director and a number of the actors to step away from the production, so the production eventually folded because they didn't have their creative people any longer.
Yeah.
Because they don't believe in evolution.
And apparently what happened with Miss Saigon, which, perhaps you wouldn't think would be necessarily controversial, big Broadway show, been around for a long time, but, has been criticised for its depiction of...
Vietnamese.
And kind of exoticization of Asian people.
That's so funny because it's just a remake of M. Butterfly, or Madame Butterfly, which, I don't know, that text has been around for well over 100 years.
But it's one of those things which I think, it's just definitely not like clean cut.
Yeah.
So I can see why. I don't know. I don't think I would. Yeah, but they've been like protesting and having town hall meetings, and it's been a real kind of big thing.
Yeah.
But I think what was interesting was some of the student comments really took issue with Derek Miller's opening sentence, which was, "I'm skeptical of the theatre's power to incite passion in the public."
Yeah. And he
Bold
said it
statement.
knowingly,
that
he was going to incite the blogosphere.
Yeah. So I think a lot of students at Carnegie Mellon took issue with that because, it's sort of going, why are we here? We believe in theatre. We don't want you to say that theatre is meaningless and has less value or has less kind of cultural importance than sports or films or anything
Our
like that.
yearly tuition would suggest otherwise. It does have
But
value.
so then there was a lively discussion going on the blog. I encourage you to check it out about, what makes good theatre and what kind of shows people remember. And Alex France wrote that some of the most memorable shows for me are those in which I leave the theatre full of both questions and arguments.
Well said. Excellent. Couldn't agree more.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, that brings us now to Chicago Critics. This is an editor pick, and it was actually my favorite article of the week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, a shrinking landscape, theater criticism in Chicago, then and now. This is from howlround.com
Great
by
website.
Josh Sobel. And basically this article deals with kind of the decline of theater criticism in Chicago and how that really led to the rise of theater criticism, particularly through this man Richard Christensen, who wrote for the Chicago Tribune from 1978 to 2002, really led to the renaissance of the Chicago theater scene, because this critic would make a point of seeing everything, be it in a church basement like Steppenwolf's shows originally were, or like the back of a laundromat or a bar, as well as the major productions like at the Goodman or whatnot. And how, because he really shined a light on the smaller companies, it allowed for the Chicago theater scene to expand and really grow, like a company like Steppenwolf that went from church basement to a major organization, and that was really due to his putting the light on them.
Yeah, I mean, critics have such an important role to play in nurturing young artists in terms of just exposing their names to a wider audience through their readership, but also giving you like status and cachet in terms of just review quotes that you can then like take to funders or other people.
Completely.
And then also giving you valuable criticism on your work. You know, when you're starting out, you don't always have an outside voice that's, you know, maybe you have some other artists that are helping you, but someone with sort of a little kind of critical distance can be really useful.
You know, I think so much in the theater we tend to look at critics in an adversarial light, and actually they really do help. They can help sell the product or expand the product in some way.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the role of critics in somewhere like New York is just totally different to a lot of other cities in the world. Like Wellington, where I'm from, it's just like we have a lot of theatre critics, and you know, they're quite like this. They really try and get out and support and see a lot of the emerging and up and coming work. But a bunch of my colleagues are embarking on a criticism project at the moment in which they want to get like younger reviewers and different kinds of criticism going on in Wellington, where I'm from, which I think is really interesting as well.
Very cool. You know, I think here in a lot of markets where the theater is so saturate, it's tougher to get that critical eye on your work, but you know that it is essential in a place like New York to be reviewed in order to be seen. And the cool thing this article goes on to talk about is how this Richard Christensen really treated the smaller companies just the same as the larger companies, as professionals, not amateurs, just because they had no budget. He treated them like professionals and would either, you know, give them the same glowing response as he would a greater company if he felt he saw something of merit, or, you know, would be critical if he felt like he didn't, you know. Adelaide Zhang writes, critics in popular culture are sometimes portrayed as heartless and disparaging, but if done correctly and thoughtfully, criticism can make a huge difference. I totally agree. Yeah. You know, and you know, the article goes further on to say how it's a shame because of the death of print media on some level. We're starting to see less and less critics, just a pool of critics to go see new work. And with the folding of Time Out Chicago, which really in the last few years had put a spotlight on smaller productions, that's sort of fading now.
I wonder if more of that audience role as critic in terms of social media or blogging or something like that will rise to
Take the place?
to take the place, and whether that will be as useful critically to artists.
Right.
I think it's really interesting.
You know, it makes me think, well, what's the difference? And maybe the difference is that the blogger, the digital critic, it's not as exclusive a club, and maybe it just won't have quite the same sway as seeing something in print in the Chicago Tribune, or in Time Out Chicago.
But are there not already some theatre blogs or review blogs that, whilst not as, critically valued as the New York Times, still
Right.
have that power to...
I think to a degree, but I don't know. I just my opinion. I feel like the print sort of still trumps that. So that brings us to the end of our second segment. It's been nice seeing you. We'll be back in a moment. Thanks.
Okay, good. We did pretty good on our own.
Yeah. Hopefully they were long enough.
Put that on the...
I think you